So we're going to answer questions. So just a quick run through. We had me from Microsoft Research and the Bot Framework team. Who was after me? There was Ben was in here. Yep. Ben Brown from Howdy. Ivar talked about Kik. Mike, you talked about Beep Boop just now. Rob talked about Superscript from Slack, right? Brian talked about serverless bots, and I forget your name. You're from Gupshup, that's right. Yes. So any questions for all of us or individuals? Second row, or third row, sorry.
Yeah, so for everybody that has a platform where people can go and build bots, so I guess not the users, but everybody else, everybody gave kind of an example of hi and response hello. I'm just wondering what the most advanced thing, like what's the coolest thing that your platform can do for each person? You know, like the most advanced bot that you can imagine someone could build on your platform.
Yes. Does anyone want to jump in? Yeah. Go.
All right. So the most advanced bot on the Gupshup platform, so we're working with Sage. Sage is the global accounting software company, kind of like Intuit. So they're launching an income and expense capture, reporting, and so on. Essentially, accounting software, one of the most boring and dull categories. But they want to enable users worldwide capture these things. So there's a NLP interface. Just in the moment, you can say I paid $50 at Starbucks for a client meeting, and it just captures that, inserts it in the record, or received $100,000 for web design, whatever it is, right? So in the moment, you capture all these events, but behind the scenes, it's aggregating into the accounting software. That's one example, but we work in Barclays Bank for support, NBC, sort of movie recommendation bots, a recruiting company building a whole sort of recruiting workflow and so on. Plus lots and thousands of self-serve bots, some of which I may not even be aware of, but they just use the platform to do things. So lots of it, yeah.
Yeah, I guess from our perspective, since we launch bots as containers, and any language, any platform, so it's really like what those frameworks provide and what you can do. And so what we see is, especially on our platform, a lot of people doing like bespoke custom integrations with all sorts, like on Slack, with whatever systems they use. For example, we're helping build a secret shopper app for a particular brand that does has secret shoppers that go into stores, and so they're helping facilitate and coordinate and gather feedback from all those shoppers in Slack, because they use Slack and there's a mobile app for Slack. And so it's it's the same sort of mix, match, burn kind of experience with APIs that you would call like on our platform. It's since we give developers full control to be able to code the bot they want in the language and the framework that they want, that they can do sort of whatever they want, whatever's possible. But most of our people tend to build bots in Node on BotKit. We have a lot of other people that build in Python, but it's primarily Node and BotKit. So.
The most advanced features, I would say like it's less about the features and more about the compelling experiences right now. So in terms of features, a lot of the brainstorming I've heard yesterday, and I think a lot of the platforms are going to head towards the direction, is the group bots. What can bots do within a group? And it makes perfect sense. But I would say like at this very moment, some of the most compelling bots we have on Kik are the narrative bots. Bots tell a story. With Kik, you can do combine bots plus interactive HTML5 web pages. So we have this bot called Survival, which has you in a zombie apocalypse situation, and you have to escape that situation by a combination of storytelling and real, quick action type of arcade type of experiences. So it's a combination of a narrative plus fast action game, and I would say it's more compelling than feature-rich.
I think many of you know some of the smart chatbots we've launched on Microsoft's platform. Caption Bot, which captions images. We have bots that swap faces, and you may also be thinking of some of our other chatbots. I won't belabor all that. We do have a lot of bots at various layers of our stack, and you can actually play around with a lot of them on Skype and other the other platforms we support. But
yeah, your guys' stuff has like actually more primitive sort of elements than any other platforms, I think. Like you have like integer types and like dates and stuff that you can actually like expose in conversations for what it's worth. Like, so I think the Microsoft one is very like fully featured like app development thing. I think our thing is a Node application, so you can do basically anything you want. Your your application logic lives in between the messages being sent, right? So there's not really a limit. You can have very, very complex conversations with just a couple of tiers deep of callbacks in ours. But like I would point at like Kip is running on BotKit. StatsBot is running on BotKit. Howdy is running on BotKit. These are things that operate in many channels and coordinate activity across direct messages and public channels and aggregate the information and send it out to APIs and send them to internal services and all that stuff. So I don't think there's any like hard limit on what any of these things can do.
Question to Ben of Microsoft. There is a slot filler in Lewis. What's the algorithm? Is it traditional NLP regex or is it deep learning RNN?
Great question. I don't know. I can certainly hook you up with the Lewis folks. And we do have slot filling at 2 different levels. So we have slot filling at the natural language level, and we also have a form filling system where if you define your data types, we have a conversation engine that walks over that and puts fields in essentially your raw data types. But I'll connect you with Lewis. I actually don't know which one.
So I have a question for, is it Rob? Right, so about the superscript thing. When the demo app where it was just, or sort of like a Hello World, what is my favorite color? What is your favorite color?
Sure.
So if the user responds with blue but sometimes red, or my favorite color is green most of the time, then you end up with a response that looks very Eliza-like, right? So
Absolutely, yep.
I'm curious about, do you parse responses to be able to get at the semantic underneath?
So the question is, do we parse units semantically under the hood? And the answer is not in the traditional sense. So there's no deep or shallow semantic parsing happening, or any like parse trees that are being constructed. That particular example is fairly contrived, but in that case, I was just looking for one word after. So it is expecting one color unit. But you could essentially put in some sort of entity extraction that would understand a list or a host of colors and then pull that unit out, very specifically if you wanted to. Or you could plug in a parser.
This is for Gupshup and maybe Microsoft. How are you guys handling, I noticed when you did the demo, we actually put on Facebook to respond with like hi and like the Facebook ID. So how are you handling pushing these different platforms, like the minor differences between them?
So in our case, on the Gupshup platform, what we've done is, we try to do the combination of sort of cross-platform as well as native, if that's the word, okay? Because different messages render differently, right? So you can have structured messages in Facebook, the templates, the carousel. Slack is talking about structured messages. Telegram and Kik have custom keyboards and so on. So our goal is to have a single common API that still renders differently or natively in each of the messaging platforms, right? So wherever possible, you can still normalize the API without normalizing the actual rendering. In our case, yeah.
We take kind of it's a very similar approach in the bot framework. We've taken the concepts that seem to apply kind of generically and uniformly across all the platforms. Everyone has a concept of a message, and we model those in ways that seem to be conventional across all those platforms. And then in cases where certain platforms have extra functionality, we have a hook through. Our approach to this has been that if we build a platform that hides features in Facebook and Slack and Kik and others, that you're not going to write to our API, you're just going to write directly to those. And so we have pass-throughs for all those mechanisms, and then we also conventionalize the stuff that everyone seems to agree on.
If you look at the universe of bots that are being created today, and say about 90 days, what do you think the split will be between bots that are like native to 90 day applications versus like retail use cases, which are like retailing or customer care, versus like brand experience, which is like the different verticals of bots?
You go first. Go.
I would just say dramatically more of all of those things. Probably.
I would say on our platform, so you had the brands and you had the retail, What was the first one? Native services. I would say brands would be 60%, retail 20, and the rest 20.
I think I see bots not sort of as a special use case that applies to some verticals, but I see them as just the latest reincarnation of a website or an app, right? So if you ask the same questions about websites, right? What's the distribution between brands and use cases and verticals? I don't know the answer, but it's just a lot of each of those. And frankly, to me, what's driving the bot phenomena is the fact that you have a ton of eyeballs, right? 3 to 4 billion mobile users worldwide opening the messaging app dozens of times a day. So every website, every app will have to repurpose, reinvent, reformat itself for the bot ecosystem. And you're just going to have, millions of bots because it just makes sense. It's a convenient format. Now, of course, there'll be a lot of unique and new innovations that we haven't yet anticipated or can even think of, right? But I would resist this thing about, okay, here are these 12 use cases that are good for bots while others are for other things. I think you're just going to, it tips over, right? For the first 100 or the first 1,000 use cases, once they're covered by bots, suddenly consumers are there and they expect to be there and they expect every other brand to be there too, and then everyone has to be there, right? And it's so reminiscent of what happened in the mid-90s with websites, where we said, okay, we'll keep Office and PowerPoint and so on the desktop, but we'll move some of the things. What is a website good for? Well, maybe marketing or broadcasting or something. And then it just became everything, right? And except barring a few exceptions, it just transforms everything. And my gut is it's going to be the same with bots, yeah.
I asked the question because I think there's a life cycle here. And even when web came out, there were certain verticals that were early adopters.
Right.
And so I only asked the question sort of informed, from the tools that are being built, are you the cater the ones, the use cases that are coming up first and sort of drive that?
All right, just quick. I think if I were to hazard a quick guess, I think it'll be the long tail use cases that'll jump onto it faster. Because if you think about Uber, it's already a top 10 app or something, right? And for them, bots is just an extra channel. But there are so many other apps that it's really hard to get downloaded, but bots provides a huge venue. So they're going to jump onto it with both feet and so on. So anyway.
Slightly alternate view. Bots aren't really new. They're kind of old. They've been around for a while. And for the most part, they've been kind of arty. It's a different scene. It reminds me of the early web. There's a lot of sort of freaky art show experimental bots on places like Twitter and IRC. So games could end up being a huge venue for the early world of bots. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yep.
All right. Thank you all. Thank everybody. Huh? Oh, no. Sorry. If you have more questions, find us.